Hey, this is Bridget.
And this is Annie.
And you're listening to Stuff Mom Never Told You. Okay, this is going to be a heavy one. This is one that's been burning in my mind for a very long time, and I wrestled with whether or not it was something I'd bring to the podcast. But I'm bringing it to the podcast.
She's bringing it.
I'm bringing it. This is my plea. White people, please stop calling the police on every little thing. Please.
Yes.
We are begging you. Okay, let's take a step back.
Okay.
Recently, there have been very high-profile instances of white people, a lot of whom are white women, I have to add, calling the police on Black and brown folks who have literally done nothing wrong. Quick recap. This is very abbreviated. If we were going to do all of them, even just in the last couple of weeks, we'd be here all day.
Yeah.
You probably heard the first one. Starbucks in Philadelphia. 2 Black men were arrested after a Starbucks store manager called the police because they were sitting in the store without placing an order. The 2 men said they were waiting for a friend who had literally just arrived as they were being taken away in handcuffs. Now, the 2 men, both Black, didn't even know the manager had called the police. They said they had only been in the shop a few minutes before they were summoned by police officers. A bystander got video. The barista said, they had been sitting here and haven't made a purchase. They were like, one woman was like, I've been sitting here for hours and haven't bought anything.
Yeah.
They apparently had asked for the bathroom code, and they said, you haven't bought anything. But someone else had said, I also got the code, and I'm white and didn't buy anything, and it wasn't a problem. So it seems pretty obvious what was going on. They were in public, put in handcuffs, and taken away, which is mortifying and awful. Another ridiculous one, Yale University, a white female student called police on a Black student for falling asleep in the common room while working on a paper. Now, the police showed up. They questioned the Black student for 15 minutes. She showed the police the key to her room and her ID, and basically it sounds like these cops were kind of harassing her. She says, I deserve to be here, she said in a video. I pay tuition like everybody else. I'm not going to justify my existence here. It's not even a conversation. So again, this was someone who had every right to be in a common space of her dorm, being questioned by police on her own campus, which is absurd.
Absolutely. And who among us has not fallen asleep in the common room if you've gone to college?
Yeah.
That's just kind of...
That's like the lead, of all the things that go down in the common room with the dorm, yes. Sleeping is like the one you was like, thank God she was sleeping. Yeah. All the things that could go down there. Bob Marley's granddaughter and her friends were taking luggage out of her Airbnb when they were met with a huge, oversized police presence, including being tracked by a helicopter. Attorneys for the group say that a neighbor called 911 because the group refused to smile or wave at her.
Oh, wow.
So basically, if you're Black in America, you are obligated to smile and wave if someone looks at you. Otherwise, they got to involve the police. They have no choice.
What kind of nightmare world where everyone's smiling and waving at everybody?
You're not allowed to have a bad day or just want to, not acknowledge a stranger.
Right.
Heaven forbid, we do not get that option. It gets worse. Police were called on a group of Black women golfing at the Grandview Golf Course in York County, Pennsylvania. Now, this story is just really exhausting. When I read it, I was just like, homie, are you kidding me? Steve Kronsteister, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Frankly, I hope I'm saying it wrong because you, Steve. He co-owns this golf course. Now, he called 911 because these women, can you guess what they were doing wrong?
Golfing?
They were golfing too slowly.
Oh.
They were a group of older women who were they said they were rusty at playing golf. They were golfing too slowly. He says that the women were not meeting the time guidelines and delaying tee times for other golfers. So he called 911 twice. First, he called 911 and he said, these women are golfing too slowly. Then, I guess they had picked up the pace. Then they started going slowly again. He came outside to talk to them, and I guess the conversation didn't go well. He called 911. He wanted to have the women removed from the golf course. When the cops showed up, they pretty quickly realized, wait, this is not a police matter, and they left. And the women kept golfing. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, we're taking our sweet time. But they eventually just left on their own. Once, the police came and they thought, this is not we shouldn't, like, why are we called for this? This is ridiculous.
Mhm.
And it is ridiculous. Another, in my hometown of Washington, D.C., a white woman called park security when she saw a black father pushing his son in a park in a stroller. She called to report a, quote, suspicious man walking the bike path of the baby. Now, this is broad daylight.
Yeah.
Just a guy with a, I mean, I saw the picture. The stroller is fancy as shit. Like, you would not see that and be like,
oh.
I mean, maybe she thought the stroller was stolen. I don't know in what world this constitutes as suspicious behavior, someone walking a child in a park in a stroller in broad daylight. But for whatever reasons, woman felt threatened, felt it was suspicious, called 911. The police came, told the man what had happened. They said, a woman called to report you. I think I'm obligated to come check it out. I just want to let you know what happened. You know, he wasn't arrested or anything. And he describes the encounter as being very polite and you know, by the book. But still, that someone encountered him and needed to call authorities is wild. And my personal favorite, you probably heard about this because it sort of took over the internet the last week or so. A white woman called 911 to report that a group of Black friends and families were breaking the law by barbecuing with a charcoal grill in a public park. While she was on the phone with the police, she accused one of the men of trespassing in a public park. I love this story because, one, this woman became a really hilarious meme where pictures of her calling the police were photoshopped over pictures of Obama, pictures from Black Panther, pictures of, like, any Black person doing anything.
Yeah.
She's in the background on the phone calling the police.
Oh.
And another great thing about how this story went down is that a week later, the Oakland community kind of celebrated her memification by throwing what looked like the biggest, blackest, most lit barbecue in that same park the next week. They had swag surfing and the electric slide. I'm sure all kinds of charcoal grills.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey, we're allowed to grill in public. You can't call the police. We exist. We're allowed to take up space. So here's why these situations are so troubling to me. All of them are instances that just did not need to happen. One, the people who called 911 could have all just minded their business, to be frank with you. Like, they could have just not done that. They could have said, oh, there's someone using a barbecue, and then just lived their lives and, you know.
Yep.
Just got
perfectly happy.
Gone home.
Yeah.
Just lived there, and not become memes, right?
Yeah.
And like not have spent a full 48 hours being made fun of by the entire internet. Like, that's one way that could have gone down.
Yeah.
Or it could have been solved by a simple conversation, right? The instance of the woman with Airbnb, she could have come out and said, you know, I think she probably should have just minded her business, but if she was really that pressed, she could have said, hey, you know, hello, I'm the neighbor, just saying hi. You know, she could have used her words and solved it via this simple tool called communication.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Have you heard of it? It's this new thing. It can really solve problems. You don't actually need to involve the police. You can actually use this tool first in a lot of instances, or just do nothing, right? It's like,
yeah.
Again, in any of these cases, at Yale, if she just let that girl sleep, you know, probably would have just kept sleeping. Like, it probably would have been fine. Probably could have just minded her business and, like, gone back to her dorm and lived her life and forgot about it. And probably the worst thing that could happen is this person will be sleeping on a couch.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you minding your business is always a choice. So let me be very clear. I am not saying never call the police. There are times the police are needed. If someone is hurt, there's an emergency, you know, there's an accident, definitely call the police. If you feel unsafe, someone's being threatened. I'm not saying never call the police. What I am saying is not every interpersonal interaction requires a call to 911, people. Use your heads.
Yeah.
Think about it. So this is my plea. Use discretion before calling 911. Like, think about it. Is there a better way to handle this situation? Do you need to summon armed guards of the state over a barbecue? You know? I would say no, but that's me.
I would say no unless the barbecue is like